My name is James Otteson. I'm the Executive Director of the Eudaimonia Institute here at Wake Forest University. It is our distinct pleasure and honor to welcome you to campus. This is Muhammad Yunus, the 2006 Nobel Peace Prize winner. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
So I thought we might just begin with a question about your background. So maybe tell us a little bit about where you grew up, what your childhood was like, and what led you to economics.
Well, I grew up in Bangladesh. At that time, it was part of India because still India is divided between Pakistan and India. I was born in 1940, so it was divided between Pakistan and India in 1947, so 7 years down the line. So I grew up wherever I was in the village at the then East Pakistan, and went to school in the village, and then later on my family moved into city, Chittagong, and went to the city schools and so on, and local college and university in Dhaka. Then got the Fulbright scholarship to come to Nashville, Tennessee. Did my PhD in economics.
At Vanderbilt University.
In Vanderbilt University, yes. Then I went back in 1972. I came in here in Nashville and Vanderbilt in 1965 and went back in 1972.
So why economics? Why did you decide to study economics?
Well, at that time, there are options that I see as a young person, whether I should be a lawyer or I should be something else, because lawyer is one very popular subject for young people at that time with the cohort that I was with. But then I thought Pakistan became independent country, so probably we'll need a lot of attention to economic issues and so on. Maybe I should study economics. That's my personal decision. My parents didn't play any role, or anybody else didn't play any role in that. So I did that and studied in economics in Dhaka University and did my BA and MA in economics, and then I started teaching in a local college in Chittagong. And then in the middle of it, I got the Fulbright scholarship, which brought me
Brought you to the United States.
Yeah.
And so after you completed your PhD, you went back
not
in
really.
71 or in 72?
I did finish before that, but I was still teaching in Middle Tennessee State University.
Middle Tennessee State University, right.
In the meantime, then East Pakistan got into big war with Pakistan. And I joined that campaign to create independent country, Bangladesh, and campaigning to the press here, mobilizing the people originating from East Pakistan living here, very small community at that time. And also doing campaigning in the US Congress, because the US government was supporting Pakistan against the independence of Bangladesh.
Right.
So we are trying to convince the senators and congressmen to support the cause of Bangladesh as an independent country. So we did that for a whole year of 1971, and at the end of 71, Bangladesh became independent. Immediately, I decided to quit my job and go back.
Go back to
so
Bangladesh.
That's what happened. I finished my work in the middle of next year, 72, and I left for Bangladesh and started teaching there in one of the universities in Bangladesh, Chittagong University.
So it wasn't too long after that, if I understand correctly, that you began a research project looking into how could we provide desperately needed banking and other kinds of services to the poor.
It's not really a research project. I was very frustrated, very disenchanted with the economics that I learned. I thought this is a useless subject that I learned.
Okay.
Because the country was going through terrible famine in all over the place. The people are dying of hunger. And here I teach elegant theories of economics, which I loved to teach them. And I did that in Murfreesboro and MTSU. But here I see these are empty things I'm teaching. It has no relevance to the people who live around me. The university that I was teaching is surrounded by the villages. And I see how people suffer from all kinds of things, destitution, hunger, and diseases, and so on. And I don't see this economics that I learn has any use for them. So I see mismatch between what I teach in the classroom and what I see outside the classroom. And I thought I wasted my time learning something which is not useful. So one way I thought I can make myself useful to go out of the classroom and be with the people in the village next door, to see if I can be of some help in some way, useful to people there as a person, not because I'm a teacher or I'm an economist, quote unquote. I was not worrying about that. See if as a human being I can be of some service to people. So I did that every day. I go out there and we get to meet people, understand their problems, see if I can be helpful in solving one of their daily problems that I had. In the process, I get to know the village very well. They not get to know me, and I got to know them. And soon I realized that the big problem that struck me again and again is the loan sharking in the village.
Loan sharking.
It's tiny loans given to poor people, and in the process they grab everything they have, whatever little left in them. And I felt terrible that human beings can be so cruel to each other, living in the same village for generations, and still they want to exploit each other in such a terrible way.
So these were people who knew each other.
They knew each other. They're neighbors for years and years.
Yeah.
Their parents were neighbors. Their grandfathers were neighbors. But still, they go on exploiting each other in a horrible way. And I feel again bad that economics never taught me how to address this issue, how to address the problem of loan sharking. Is there a solution to that? So I felt that I'm alone again. It cannot be done. And I was thinking how to help people in a situation like that, and I had no answer at all. Suddenly one idea came, why don't I lend the money myself? If I lend the money, they will come to me. And the problem for them will be solved. They won't be victims of the loan sharks because I protected them by lending the money.
So you decided to solve the problem yourself directly.
Right. Exactly. So instead of having a research project or something like that,
I understand.
I just give the money. And
so based on your own local knowledge that you had of the
Absolutely,
situation,
sure, exactly.
And
I
the
took
people
the money
involved.
out of my own pocket and started lending money. Say, if you need money, come to me. Don't go to the loan sharks. And people at the beginning were suspicious. What is this? Is he going to make us more miserable? Why should
Are
we
you
do
just
that?
another loan shark?
Or maybe I'm another loan shark. But gradually people like that. People realize that I'm not a loan shark. I'm genuinely trying to help them. They keep on coming, more and more numbers. The more they came, the more happy I got, because I thought it's useful to them. Otherwise, why should they come to me? I'm helping them. So that was the beginning, and it continued. And I started paying back all the money, lending all the money that I had earned in the States. So I had lots of money with them. And the money needed was such a small one each case. But soon I realized that my money will be soon running out after several months. And it's getting bigger and bigger. More and more people are coming. So I was trying to see how to sustain this, how to continue this, not shut down the whole time. So I went to the local bank in the campus to see if they will take it over, do the same thing. Bank said, no, they cannot lend money to poor people. That's not their job. So I had a big trouble with the banks, and I started criticizing them very, very sharply. I didn't make friends with them. I was making all kinds of accusations that this is the wrong thing they do. This is not the kind of thing banking should be doing. But ultimately, I needed the money from them. So I said, why don't you accept me as a guarantor? I become the guarantor, and you provide the money. If they don't pay back, I'll pay back. After months of negotiation, finally they accepted that. And then I was very happy that finally I resolved that. It can continue now. All I have to do is to put signatures in all the papers they give me. And I was happily signing every single piece of paper. And it grew and grew. But seeing that it is growing, it's no sign of stopping. But they are hoping it will collapse very soon. And I'll have to pay all the money. It was not collapsing. But they were absolutely sure it will collapse sooner or later. And then I'll not be able to pay all the money back. So they are very reluctant to give more money. And I was furious with them. I said, this works so beautifully. Every penny comes back and I'm giving the money. Then I thought, why don't I create a bank myself? Why should I have to go to them to take the money? So new initiative came, how to create a bank for the poor people. And after many round of discussion with the central bank, with the finance ministry, and so on, everybody was reluctant to allow me to create that bank. I started in 1976, And after several years of efforts, finally I got the permission, got the license to set up a bank we called it Grameen Bank in 1983. And since then I've been expanding and expanding. We had no problem anymore. So it became soon a nationwide bank.
And now Grameen Bank is worldwide with some 9 million borrowers. Do I have those numbers right?
Yeah. Grameen Bank works only in Bangladesh. It doesn't work outside of Bangladesh. It has 9 million borrowers within Bangladesh.
Within Bangladesh.
We have 80,000 villages in Bangladesh.
80,000 villages.
We work in every single village to serve the people. One of our basic principles of our banking is people should not come to the bank. Bank should go to people. So we deliver the service of the bank at the doorstep of our borrowers. Of all the 9 million people spread out in 80,000 villages all over Bangladesh, we go and meet them within a week. All these 9 million people at their doorstep to deliver the service at the doorstep. So that's what the Grameen Bank is all about. And most of our borrowers are women, 97% of them are women. They also own the bank. It's not only we provide the service, we made it in a way the bank is owned by the borrower themselves. So they sit in the board, they make the rules, they make the policies, they oversee the operations. And it works. It's the largest bank in the country in terms of number of borrowers. And it's a most successful bank in the country.
It's an extraordinary story. And one of the striking things, listening to you speak about it, one of the many striking things is almost all of the borrowers are women.
Yes.
So I assume there must have been some experimentation that went on before you settled on that policy?
No.
Why don't you lend to men?
Yeah, it didn't come that way. As I was explaining that I was very critical of the existing banks, and I was complaining that's the wrong way they have designed the entire banking system. Bank is supposed to give loans to people, but they do it in such a funny way. They lend the money to people who already have lots of money. They don't lend the money who don't have the money. I said it would have been the other way.
People who really need it.
It should have been the other way. They should be lending money to the people who needed the money most, who didn't have the money, and gradually they will move up who have more money. They laughed. That's not the banking. I said, that's the banking to me. And then I also complained that not only they don't lend money to people who are poor, they don't lend money to women at all, even if she has lots of money. They will not lend the money. They were very furious that when I accused them. I said, yes, this is true, because look at your information that we got. Not even 1% of your borrowers happen to be women. Something is wrong in your system. So they said, they don't come to us. We said, that's not true. Your rules, your procedures are completely biased against women. So that's why they cannot come to you. So when I began, while I make these acquisitions, I was preparing to set up a larger and larger operation for me. I wanted to make sure half the borrowers in my program are women. So this was a decision taken arbitrarily, that half the borrower must be women. So we go to the women, explain to them that, look, this is how you can start. And so women said, no, don't give it to me. I don't know anything about money.
They said, don't give it to me.
Don't give it to me. I don't know anything. I never handled money in my life. Give it to my husband. He's the one who takes care of the money part of it. I said, no, it's not your husband. We want to give it to you. You think about it. It took a lot of time to overcome their fears of doing things differently, doing things new. It took 6 years to come to that 50-50 level, but we never gave up on that mission to make half the borrowers as women. So after 6 years, when we saw that it's happening, at the same time we saw money going to the family through women brought so much more benefit to the family than the same amount of money going to the family through men.
Interesting.
So we were surprised that we had no idea that it will happen like that, but in every single case, you see the same thing. So we started asking the question, why 50-50? Why do you limit 50-50? So open that up. So we removed
what is the answer to that question? Why was it better to go to the women?
It's something typical with the women. It's at the beginning I thought it's Bangladeshi women may be different than others, but later I saw when Grameen ideas spread all over the world, it has the same tendency and same features in all women everywhere in the world. Women pay more attention to their children, to their family, than the men did. Men was focused on himself. They wanted to enjoy whatever they got extra, whatever little extra money they got. They wanted to enjoy that right away, rather than pay any attention to anybody. But women always wanted to share, always. If you kind of make an imaginary priority list for a woman. She will put other members of the family, children, and everybody in household, and she'll put her name at the end of the whole list. If you ask the men to make the list, it will start with him and everybody else later. So the kind of the thing that we kind of seeing that in that way. And we said, okay, that's if for the same money you can make so much impact in the family, why go through men? Why didn't you go through women? So we changed the policy completely. We started focusing on women, although it slowed down our progress because women are so reluctant to join in, where men are jumping around to take the money. We said, well, you have to wait. We have to make sure the women gets the first chance. So gradually we moved from 50-50 to 60, 70, 80. And now
it's almost 100, 97%.
97%, yeah. When the idea of Grameen started spreading all around the world, people didn't try out with men at all. They just straightway went to women, and some had few men. But the microcredit, what we do, became known as microcredit, became known as a loan given to poor women to start an income-generating activity. So it became, microcredit became synonymous with a loan to the poor women. So that's how it grew in Bangladesh and spread all around the world.
So when you say microcredit and microloan, what level of money are we talking about? So
well, when we began, it could be as small as $5, $10. $5
or $10. But in the lives of certain people, this could be transformative.
That's very important, that money. But gradually now, I would say it about the $40 to $50 is a startup loan, somebody who joined in Grameen Bank. Then move on. As you pay back the first loan, you get a bigger loan and a bigger loan, next loan, and so on. So you spread your business and expand your business and continue to earn income. You get comfortable with that. You know how to pay back, you know how to start a business, and so on. So that's the idea, that the spread, that poor people have the capacity to become an entrepreneur. So they become an entrepreneur and makes it happen. And women show their ability to become an entrepreneur, a very successful one.
It sounds like this gives them a way, it's not just the money itself, but it gives them a kind of ownership over their lives and an empowerment to become independent and figure out ways to make their own lives better, the lives of their families and their communities.
Enormous benefit coming to them. I mean, what you said is all true. At the same time, remember, we are talking about the society in Bangladesh where women literally doesn't exist. It's a man's world, and man controls everything. So here, for the first...
Is that changing this? Are you changing?
Dramatically changed.
Dramatically
because the woman now in control of the money. She has bank connections with her, and she's the one who takes the money from the bank and pays back. She can borrow money for her husband, for son, and anybody in the family. She's the connection between the Grameen Bank and the family, and so on. So that gives a tremendous strength and confidence that. And the status of the women in the family has changed dramatically.
Gives them a kind of identity and
absolutely,
empowerment.
Absolutely. So women empowerment is a core of the whole thing. She emerges as an independent, creative person. She is not at the mercy of anybody. She can look forward.
She has her own identity.
Her own identity.
Her own autonomy.
Absolutely.
So Grameen has now begun moving into the United States, or has over the last few years. In fact, there's a branch in Charlotte, nearby Charlotte, North Carolina. Are there any special challenges that you've faced in trying to open branches in the United States as opposed to places like Bangladesh?
First of all, Grameen Bank has not extended here in America. This is an independent organization called Grameen America.
Grameen America.
It's an NGO. It's a non-profit organization based in New York. It started in 2008 with one branch in Jackson Heights in Queens. Because we are challenged to do it in the United States to show that it can work in the United States, because I was insisting that it can be done. While many experts were telling that this is a very different country. Poverty here is not as bad as in Bangladesh, so you don't need it.
Much richer country. Right?
Much richer country, and so on. I said, no, that's what you think. You go at the bottom, it's the same situation. Poverty is the same everywhere, whether you're in a rich country or you're a poor country. Poor are poor. They have exactly the same situation. No hope, no possibilities for their life, and so on. So if you can do it the right way, it will work, and that's what they need. So they challenged me to do it, show it to them that it works. So I took the challenge and did it, Grameen America and so on. And it worked beautifully. So now we have 20 branches all over United States. Grameen America has 20 branches in 12 cities, and Charlotte is one of them. Charlotte branch started 5 years back. Mm-hmm. Today they have over 4,000 borrowers, all women, 100% women.
100% women.
100% women. They have collectively taken $65 million in loan. The startup loan will be under $1,500. So each one taking $1,500 and taking the next loan a bigger size and so on. So total loan that we have given out is $65 million in 5 years. $65 million. In 5 years. And repayment is 100%. Never dropped
That's
a single.
Absolutely remarkable.
Never dropped one single installment of their loan. Every week they pay.
No borrower has missed a single installment.
Yes, it's an amazing story how they do. So throughout the United States, we have now 20 branches, 7 branches in New York City alone, and then 2 branches in Northern California, 2 branches in southern, northern, then southern each. And then we have Omaha, Nebraska, Charlotte is here, and also in Boston and Houston and Miami and others, Indianapolis. In total, 12 cities, 20 branches, with 100,000 borrowers, 100% women, all women, and repayment near 100% together, all 20 branches. It comes to 99.5% repayment rate. So all those branches. So you don't have good branches and bad branches. They're all good branches.
99.5%?
Absolutely, that's it.
So with that kind of success...
Total loan that we have given out is $1 billion now.
$1 billion.
And we want to increase it to 40 branches in the next few years, giving out to 500,000 borrowers in the United States, lending out over $10 billion to them. And we have no problem in getting the money back and continue the expansion and so on.
That's such a remarkable success story.
It is remarkable.
Why haven't other banks copied this? So why aren't others doing what you're doing? I imagine that large commercial banks in the United States don't have anything like that kind of repayment rate.
No, it's true, because it doesn't happen. Why they don't do it? Because they don't see this as their banking, meaning they want to make profit at the level that they cannot generate that kind of profit with this small loans and so on. They cover the cost, they can make little surplus on top of it, but that's not why they're interested. They want to make the big profit. So if the profit maximization principle holds, nobody will pay attention to that. That's what's wrong with the whole economic system. That is guided by the profit maximization principle. You lose out all the social issues in the midst of it.
So they're looking at different things and concerns. So that actually, maybe if I could transition a bit. So in your new book, A World of Three Zeros, one of the, it's a fascinating book, but one of the things you talk about is you're critical of contemporary capitalism, or aspects of contemporary capitalism. So, and maybe this is connected with what we were just talking about, but maybe if I could ask you, so what's wrong with capitalism, at least as it's practiced today, or maybe in some parts of the world as opposed to others, and how, if you could, how would you reform it?
Well, there are some basic flaws in the capitalist system that we practice all around the world. First of all, the basic flaw is it misinterprets human being. The entire theory that the capitalist system has, based on the assumption human beings are driven by self-interest. So you have in the middle of the whole thing a selfish human being as a core of the entire world. I said that's not true. Human being is not only selfish being. So this is a gross misinterpretation of human being. Human being is a mixture of selfishness and selflessness. But the capitalist theory has dismissed the whole selflessness out of the business world, kept only the...
So only paying attention to part of human nature, not the whole of human nature.
So as a result, we create a wholly distorted structure of the human society, because we assume that everybody is a selfish being, chasing money for themselves. They see in their eyes as if they are wearing glasses with dollar signs. So the only thing they see is dollar, nothing else. I said, that's not true. You can take off your dollar sign glasses and put on a social business glasses. Suddenly you see the world completely differently. So the human beings are equipped with both of the selfishness and selflessness. If you introduce the selflessness into the picture, then suddenly the whole theory changes completely. So that's one flaw that happened. So today we have become a greed-based society. The total world become a greed-based society. forgot that selflessness part of it. What we did in the way with the Grameen Bank and many other things we did, we created a series of businesses, not just financing businesses, businesses to solve problems of environment, problems of poverty, problems of healthcare, problems of malnutrition, sanitation, education, everything. By creating a business to solve it, but business with a different kind of structure.
So it's not just profit-seeking business.
It's not a profit-seeking business,
Is it problem-solving business?
Problem-solving business. So solving the problem is the goal of that business. Not making money is the goal. Doing problem-solving with sustainability so that you can recover the money in the process.
Could we say creating value in the world? Is that a way to understand the goal? So there are many ways to create value. Creating a business that betters other people's lives, even while bettering one's own life, is a way of creating value.
Yeah. If you use the word value, people may get confused what this value is all about.
They think it sounds like money?
Yes, exactly. It sounds like money. So it's better to tell it it's a problem-solving business. For example, a country or a part of the country doesn't have drinking water. So you create, this is a problem, but you don't have a safe drinking water for yourself. So we create a business to solve that problem, business to help people to have drinking water for them. I could have done it by charity, give free water. Either a government or a charity organization builds a water system where you can bring the water and so on. But every year you have to raise money to run it. So you become dependent on external money every year. So raising money becomes a headache. And you're
spending at least as much time raising the money as you are.
Or maybe sometimes you spend more money raising the money and spend the time to do the job. So I said, if you can do it in a business way, meaning that you sell the water in a way people are able to afford it, make it as simple as that, cover the cost. Then once you start it, it continues because you cover the cost. So you don't have to go and raise money for yourself. The problem of charity is a wonderful idea, but the problem of charity is charity money goes out, does a wonderful work, but the money doesn't come back. So you have one-time use of your money. Right. But if you can convert it into a social business, the business to solve problem rather than make money for yourself, then money goes out, solves the problem, and comes back. So you can use it again and again and again. So it's an endless use of the same money.
It's a sustainable model.
Sustainable model. It becomes an entity. It becomes an institution. You can see it grow and so on, everything. So charity money has one life, while social business money has endless life, but doing the same job. So that way, it's much safer to go through the social business idea. So we created a lot of the social businesses and so on. And looking back, you can say that these are the businesses based on selflessness, because social business is not created to make money for yourself. You're doing it to help others. And people say, well, you are taking away the basic incentive of the economic system. Profit making. Profit is the incentive which drives the people make things. I said, I partly agree with you. Profit is a very powerful incentive, but other part I don't agree. You said it's the only incentive.
Yeah, there are many incentive, not the incentive.
It's an incentive, not the incentive. I try to explain it by saying that making money is a happiness. That's why people are driven by the money, making money. Making money is a happiness. Making other people happy is a super happiness. So that's another alternative. So you have to find out how you get to the super happiness. If you find out
super happiness,
yes, of course, it is something that you have so pleased yourself that you could play a role in touching people's lives. People
so it's even more rewarding,
more satisfying as a human being that you did something. So it's a question of we don't have it in our textbook, so we don't learn about it. We don't have it in practice, so we don't learn about it. You do it in a way so that you learn from it, you experience it, then you decide how much of your time you want to make money, how much of your time you want to solve the problems of the people. You decide yourself. So that has to be option. You see, the capital system prides itself. It gives people options. But when it comes to business, it doesn't give you option. There's only one kind of business.
Because it's conceiving of human beings as being
absolutely, as
a narrow,
narrowly
self-interested.
Self-interest person. So I said, all I'm giving is option. I'm not forcing anybody to do one thing or the other. I'm saying, here's an option. You can take one or take the other, or you can do both. There's no problem with that. You can create money-making business. At the same time, you can create a social business to solve people's problems.
So I like your term super happiness. The institute that has co-sponsored and brought you in to Wake Forest University is called the Eudaimonia Institute. It's named after eudaimonia. This was an ancient Greek word that Aristotle used. It's often translated as happiness or flourishing. One of the things we want to do with the institute is to encourage the study of what constitutes genuine human flourishing. And there are many different ways to think about that and to conceive of that. But it sounds as if the work that you're doing, and which is part of your criticism of the way business is often conceived and the way economics assumes human beings are motivated, constitutes something of a different view of what a human being is and also what constitutes genuine human happiness, your idea of super happiness. So could I ask you to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's again, money brings happiness because that's the goal you set for yourself, make money. That ultimate question, and what's the purpose? I mean, you can make first million, fantastic, you get the first million. You can take your first billion, fantastic, you made a first billion. What is for? Just because you have that stack of money someplace, you can't eat $1 billion. You can't leave $1 billion. You have no use. This is just on the numbers. So ultimately, you feel, what is this for? And we are here in this planet for a very short time. And why we're here? Where do we leave a signature behind us that I was here on such and such date? What is my signature? So people ultimately has to cope with that question. What is the purpose of my life? In that, you have to see that, am I useful to other people in some way? Maybe I created business, I created jobs and so on. People will remember me for that. Yes, but you made money out of it. And that was the purpose with you. This is a byproduct of what you did. This is not because you wanted to create jobs. You wanted to make money. You could make money only by creating jobs. So this was a byproduct of it. So this is not something you can take credit for entirely. So I said, if you can do something in touching other people's life, that is a very genuine kind of thing that happens. You have helped another person to have a better life for herself or overcome the problem that he or she was suffering from. If you've done it for 10, if you've done it for 100, if you've done it for 1,000, if you've done it for 1,000,000, it stacks up. It's a pleasure that your life was useful to other people. You found a way how to make your life relevant to other people. And that's what everybody will remember while you are here. This is what you have done. So I would say this, compared to what happiness you get with money, this is a super happiness because it's something
it's a deeper,
lingers,
more
lingers.
fulfilling
It's
happiness.
absolutely more fulfilling.
And more significant.
More
others.
significant. It's a purpose that you can be proud of. This is something you did. And not only it helped your neighbors, it spread and it continued even after long after you're gone. Still, this is continuing because you created something which is on and on and on. So that way I would say that the young people have to ask the question to themselves, what is the purpose of my life?
Why am I doing what I'm doing?
What am I doing? And it should be part of the academic exercise also. Today we teach economics, science, and sociology or mathematics,
Business.
everything else. But we don't address the issue, who am I? That's not a part of our curriculum, to say, who am I? Why am I here? What is the purpose of my life? Not to teach them how to put the purpose, it's just to challenge them to get together the class, discuss among yourselves, what's your purpose, what's my purpose, and do it every year. So that, am I learning something about my purpose? If I decide my purpose, then everything else follows. I have to organize myself so that I fulfill my purpose. Today, there is no purpose. Only thing I say, I get a good degree, I get a good job, and a good company. As if my life is over. As a human destiny cannot be just getting a job and having a life for themselves. And that's a too minor, too small a purpose that any human being should have. Human life is much bigger than that. So we're wasting our time and energy and the creative power in kind of compromising ourselves in giving a false kind of idea what a life is all about. So that's an academic exercise to bring the young people to come up with those ideas where I'm packed with unlimited creative capacity. Am I aware of it? If I'm aware of it, what use I'm making of this creative capacity that I have. Job is the end of creativity. Job cuts off your creativity because job is defined to fit you into a slot. Slot means you don't need the creative capacity that you have. These are excess baggage for you now. So what a shame, human being with unlimited creative capacity suddenly compromising himself and herself to do a little thing and spend the rest of his or her life in doing the little thing. That's a kind of humiliating for a human being that they have to do that. So I said, in the academic exercise, we should be discussing this. Young people should be discussing among themselves. It's not imposed on somebody. So raise this issue, what should I do?
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. So this is a very Aristotelian question, but it's also, I think, an important question for any student in any program. So in a business school, for example, we're in the business school here at Wake Forest. If you're going to go into business, well, why are you going into business? What are the goals that you actually want to achieve? By the time you're at the end of your life and you look back on what you've done, what kind of life would you like to have led that you could feel proud of, that you think actually used all of the abilities, the creativity?
Absolutely. I mean, business school is a good example because we are training our young people all the skills, all the tools to maneuver so that they can go out, join a company so that shareholders can make lots of money. That's the only purpose. The training and the entire
But that's not going to lead to the super happiness you're
that
talking
will
about.
not lead to the super happiness.
It's a truncated view. Of
yeah, and I mentioned about the selfishness and selflessness. Right. One study done, I was told in Paris, Sciences Po, this is one of the leading business schools in France. They studied the young people who are joining the business school, the first year. They did a study that their selfishness index, how high their selfishness index is. And they studied the same class at the end of their business class and finishing their courses.
I'm afraid to hear what the result was.
Yes, very high. So I said, the dean was explaining, we feel ashamed that we made these young people more selfish than they were by training them in the business school. So now we are addressing ourselves, how do you address that? Why did we take away something which was natural to them, gave them an artificial selfishness to go out from the door, from the university that we are teaching? So this is the kind of thing that should we continue that? And I kept suggesting that why don't we have a separate degree, social business degree or social.
I see. So you have business and social business.
Exactly. So business is to make money for others, for your shareholders. This is a business, social business to solve people's problem. How to create that social business, how to design that social business, how to run that social business, is effectively addressing all the problems much more efficiently and so on. We don't do that.
No, we don't.
So that's the difference between the two. Here
is that
a one-sided thing.
Is that connected with one of the distinctions you raise in your book is between what you say, you encourage young people in particular not to think of themselves as job seekers, but as job creators. Yeah. Is that connected with that distinction?
Well, it comes later on because this issue came because a lot of unemployment around the world. And I had to face it in Bangladesh. The second generation of the families of Grameen borrowers, they have their young people coming up, growing up. We are in this business of Grameen Bank for the last 41 years. So a lot of these young people went to school. We made sure they got a good education, and we gave them a scholarship. We gave them education loan to go pursue higher education, but there's no job. So I tell them, why are you looking for a job? So job is the wrong idea, completely wrong idea. You are in the wrong direction. I said, you tell yourself, I'm not a job seeker, I'm a job creator. So behave like a job creator. I give the example of their parents or their mothers. I said, your mother didn't wait for a job. She took a loan, $30, $40 loan, and started a business. If your illiterate mother could start a business with $30 loan and become an entrepreneur, what's wrong with you? With all your education, you're now waiting for somebody to hire you. Otherwise, you sit idle. I said, how can a creative young person do nothing, just sit around, wait for somebody else to decide to hire him? This is not a slavery market, sir. This is, you're a human being. You're a fully capable human being.
So take initiative.
Learn from your mother what she did. Why didn't you do it yourself in your own way? So what we have done, we created a social business fund, a venture capital fund, so that they come with the idea, with the business idea, and we invest in them so that we become a partner with them. And it's an equity. It's not a loan. So you don't be afraid of this money because it's our joint venture. If we fail together. So there's no responsibility to pay me back because it's a joint venture business. So they feel very comfortable. So they start a business. Now thousands and thousands of young people coming with business ideas. We keep on investing. So I said, look, the human beings are not born to work for somebody else. This is again a misguided thing capitalist theory has come up with, that everybody has to work for somebody else. I said, this is making a giant of a human being into a little pygmy of a human being. That you could have been a giant, but you become a pygmy because you work for somebody else. They need only this purpose, nothing else. They don't need your other views, other things, other capability. They need exactly what it is. And you grow into that slot. You can't get out of that slot. I said, that's a kind of minimizing what you got. So
an impoverished view of what a human being is.
So I've said that's again,
not viewing the whole person.
Again, on the academic circles, I would say that why don't you tell young people, and also in the family circle, in the family as you grow up, telling young children that you have two options as you grow up. You can be a job seeker or you can be a job creator. Decide what you want to be. And tell, if you want to be a job seeker, what is the path and what is the way, what are the shortcomings, what are the successes in that, and what is the route to take you to the entrepreneurship. So you become an entrepreneur, you do that, and the risk involved in it and all kinds of things, job creator, so do that. So today we don't do that. All we do that, work hard so that you get a good degree and you get a good job.
Get a good job.
It's a good job. Yeah. So it's made a very minuscule thing. I said, job cannot be destiny of a human being. Today we made destiny of a human being as a job. I said, that is kind of curtailing the capacity of a human being.
Should set our sights higher.
Much higher. So they should be a creator of the world. Human beings are brought here to become the creator of the world, create the world that you imagine. That's your job now. You are the responsible person. You dreamt about a world, and your job is to create it, make it happen. And you continue. That's the way we do that. Put all the things that you want in the world that you should love to have that. What are the things you shouldn't have? What are the things you should have? And work for it. That's a human destiny. That's what I see as a possibility and a destiny. If you don't do that, this whole world will be just going in the circle of jobs and jobs and jobs and nothing else.
Become a creator of the world.
Absolutely.
That is an inspiring vision. Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us, Professor Yunus, and thank you for gracing us with that inspiring vision.
Thank you.